Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
And welcome to the GSMC Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Susan. With me, as always, Jeff Malinoff. In today's episode, we'll be talking about Champions League action. We're in match day 5. We had some games that occurred yesterday. We have some games that are upcoming this morning and this afternoon in the Champions League. We'll talk about the results from yesterday to start. And then following that, in segment 2, we'll talk about the English Premier League as we saw the international break come to an end last week. And the English teams, as well as other leagues, were back in action. But we'll take a focus and a look in on the EPL, what happened, and where everyone sits at the current table. And then, of course, later on in the show, we'll talk about the MLS playoffs. We are now in the second leg of the semifinals in the Western and the Eastern Conference. We'll look at how Juventus is dominating the Italian league, the Serie A. We'll look at the Spanish league, see who's atop there and where the big teams, I guess, are at this current junction of the league. And we'll talk about other news and notes in the world of soccer, international soccer. So, Jeff, Champions League.
Champions League.
Yes, we are in match day 5.
The League of Champions.
We're in the middle of match day 5. We had some games that happened yesterday. Do you want to start us off with some scores?
Sure, we can talk about Manchester United and Young Boys, as Manchester United barely, and that's the key word, barely got ahead of the Young Boys 1-0. At the goal happened at the 91st minute. So the Young Boys almost one-upped the Manchester United team, which would have been a pretty shocking turn of events, to say the least. But Manchester United gets out of it with the skin of their teeth, barely, and now the Young Boys dropped to a 1-4 record instead of an 2-4 record, or 2-3 record, excuse me. They still only have 1 point in their Group H. Manchester United moves up to 10 points in their group.
Yeah, Manchester United clinches the next round. They get to the knockout stage. They now have knocked out the teams below them, Young Boys and Valencia. So they go into match day 6 with no stress, needing to qualify, as they already have. The story of this game, though, Manchester United at home, they struggled to score against Young Boys. It would have been a shocking draw or a loss had they suffered either one of those, but they do get the win. Mourinho was on the sideline. Very demonstrative, to say the least, in yesterday's game.
Demonstrative?
Yeah, we saw him be rather frustrated when Marcus Rashford missed an opportunity early in the game, kind of throwing his hands out. And
I hate when players do that.
You mean coaches?
Or coaches, sorry. Oh, either players or coaches, because you see both do that.
Right.
When it's just like you're blaming somebody else, and it's just like they know they messed up, and you throw your hands up. It's like, I know I messed up. Thanks for reminding me. Like you make the guy feel worse. I've been in that situation before.
And there were pundits that mentioned it, that that would have upset players to see their manager do that on the sideline, be that demonstrative that early in the game.
As a leader, you're supposed to be the calm one. You're supposed to be the one that assures your players, not the one that brings them down.
Right. So there was drama there, and then after Fellaini scores a goal, we see Mourinho, I think, slam a Gatorade bottle. Very demonstrative again, obviously showing the stress relief based on the entire game of not being able to score chance after chance. So we saw the emotions come out of him again on the pitch, which leads a lot of people to wonder, what's going on with this Manchester United team. They should have taken care of this game a lot easier than they did. They see their coach acting out. Some people say that it's all about him, So going back to your point,
being a little selfish.
Yeah, and in his post-game remarks, Mourinho talked about how he's never been eliminated in the group stage of any Champions League. He wanted to remind all of his critics out there of that.
Did he really say I never gotten, not my team?
Yes, he did.
That I would put. If I'm a player of his, I'm saying really, it's all about it's I, not we. Me. It's like there's no I in team, dude. You know what I mean? Just yeah, you personally have never got eliminated from a group stage, but you're managing a team, so it's the team that's never missed.
Right, and then he talked about his 1 year that he wasn't in the Champions League. His team won the Europa League, which is true. He wanted to remind everybody of that too. So of course,
he seems very arrogant. Well, maybe "seem" is a strong word. He is very arrogant.
Well, I mean, he did give himself the nickname "the Special One." So, take.
Are you allowed to give yourself a nickname?
You're not supposed to.
You're supposed to be given it. Yeah, an announcer, like a news, like an article.
A nickname should be organic and should be given to you, right?
Like the Great One or something, like the Special One. Like you're everyone's gonna say blow it out your you know what.
So yesterday what was surprising is the three most expensive players on Manchester United were not in the squad. Pogba, he did not play. Lukaku, he did play, but he came off. He came on the field. And Pogba did too, but Lukaku and Pogba both came on off the bench. And then Alexis Sanchez did not play. He was not a substitute in this game. He was not a part of the squad. So a lot of people are questioning Mourinho there too, talking about how he wanted to wrap this thing up yesterday with a win against Young Boys to qualify and not put any stress on the team for match day 6.
And it put stress on the team.
But you leave out some key members. He did tell people, well, Lukaku hasn't been scoring goals, which is fair. He hasn't. But Pogba has, he is your most expensive player. He is technically your best player. To leave him out was kind of weird from the start. I mean, obviously he got to play, but it is weird that he didn't start the game. If you were that concerned with taking care of business yesterday and not leaving any room for error.
Taking care of business.
So Manchester United will secure their spot into next round despite all the turmoil. And, Valencia is a decent team. So them advancing, I think a lot of people expected it, but Valencia was a team that knocked them out last year. So it wasn't like they were a pushover. This was an easy group, really. But Manchester United's big win against Real Madrid last game proved to be huge. It proved to be the difference and giving United the ability to move on. But speaking of which, Juventus and Valencia played yesterday. What was the score of that game?
Juventus won this game against Valencia 1-0. And the goal happened a little bit after the second half began in the 59th minute. Mm-hmm. So it was basically right in the middle of the game, and they just held that lead for a while. And they had some chances, no doubt about it. Valencia did, but Juventus just looks like the best team in the world right now.
You could definitely argue that. They have that one loss, but that was against Manchester United, and it was kind of a fluky loss. I mean, Manchester United deserved the win and everything, but
Valencia only had one shot that was actually on goal. Mm-hmm. And Juventus had 7. And obviously the addition of Ronaldo really puts them in a whole nother spectrum because you're just adding arguably the best soccer player in the world.
Yeah, and he didn't score yesterday, but he had the beautiful assist where he beat a defender, crosses it back.
He doesn't need to score to be a factor in a game.
Yeah, and we already know that Juventus was a strong team. They've been a strong team for the last couple of years. They've nearly won the Champions League a couple times. They've been close. And right now, I mean, you said it. It can be argued that they are the team to beat. Now, their manager did say that he thinks Barcelona is the team to beat, which is a good option. Is a good option.
They're always
He's
there.
being a bit humble though too. He's not going to say, what coach is going to be like, yeah, we're the team to beat. Blah blah blah. So,
and also this was Ronaldo's 100th Champions League win, the first player to ever do that.
Which is incredible at this point in his career.
And
it
how many
seems
games
like
he's had in the Champions League? Sorry to interrupt.
No,
157 games.
And at this point in his career, it seems like every week there's some new record that's being broken by him
Ronaldo.
just because of his longevity. He has scored do you know that he has scored in every match day in the Champions League? So he has scored a goal in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, round of 16, quarterfinal, semifinal, and final. He's the only player to do that.
That's absurd.
Yeah, he has scored in every round. So, Juventus, they move on. They punch their ticket. They will be atop the group. Valencia, unfortunately, they will bow out of the tournament after last year getting to the knockout round where they did knock off Manchester United. But Juventus will lead Group H with 12 points. Now, I guess Manchester United could win Group H, but Juventus is clearly in the driver's seat as we approach the last match day here. So, excuse me, let's move on to other scores that happened in the Champions League yesterday. What do you got for me?
We got Lyon and Manchester City.
Mm-hmm.
They tied 2-2, which is kind of surprising because Manchester City has been looking very good recently, and them drawing against a good team, no doubt about it, the team that's right behind them in the Group F. But it just seemed like this team was looking much better than Lyon did.
Yeah, Lyon, they had the lead twice in this game. They went up in the 55th and then again in the 81st. City responds with a goal in 62nd, 83rd. Manchester City with the draw, they punch their ticket to the next round. As Lyon has even though they'll be disappointed that they didn't get a win here, they will take solace in the fact that they are sitting on 7 points. They control their own destiny.
They haven't lost a game in the Champions League, but yet they're 1-4-0.
Yeah, they've drawn 4 times.
That's got to be frustrating, no?
Yeah, it does. It has to be, yes. I agree. But they control their own destiny. If they get a win or a draw in their next game, they're in.
Well, they know how to draw, so.
Yeah, and they're in with either one.
They make pretty colors.
The thing that really hurts Shakhtar being in third place with 5 points is their -8 in goal differential, and they can't tie in points with Lyon. And a draw would see Lyon get enough points to at least not get overtaken by Shakhtar, which would put them in the next round. So, moving on, another score yesterday.
Another score yesterday?
Let's stay in Group F. Hoffenheim.
We can do that. Hoffenheim and Shakhtar. Shakhtar won 3-2.
Yeah, Hoffenheim with the loss, they're out. They really needed a result there to give themselves a chance, but now they're too far away from Lyon. They can't finish first or second, so they'll
the goal
out.
happened in the 93rd minute, too, for Shakhtar to win this game. So it was literally down to the wire, and it was a heartbreaker for Hoffenheim for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, and let's move on to a different group.
Okay, we can do Benfica and Bayern, as Bayern handily beat them 5-1.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they're sending the Portuguese Giants home. They will bow out of the tournament. Bayern Munich really showing their strength yesterday. Robin had a vintage Robin game. He scored 2 goals in the first half. Lewandowski, 2 goals. Ribery also chipped in with a goal. Bayern's looking very strong now.
It could be worse. They could be 0-5 like Athens.
Yeah, they could. They definitely could. Bayern is having a tough go at it in the German league and the Bundesliga. But in the Champions League, they've really handled their business. 4 wins and a draw. As I mentioned, they are in the next round. Ajax is also in the next round. How did Ajax do?
The record or their game the other day?
Their game yesterday against Athens. How did it go?
Well, obviously since Athens is 0-5, Ajax won 2-0.
Yeah. I think that game will be remembered more by the fights in the stands. There was a lot of bloodshed yesterday between Ajax and Athens. It sounds like both.
Sounds like a Greek,
there's a lot of
Greek
blood.
goddess war.
If you look online, you'll see a lot of blood. It sounds like both fan bases or both clubs will be reprimanded by UEFA.
It's not their fault.
Yeah, but they have to take sanctions. They have to do things against the club, fine the club. They have to make them play matches with no fans. Like, they have to do something. We don't know if it will come up, but it's definitely marred by fan violence.
Well,
is basically what yesterday was.
Well, apparently they also threw patrol bombs and fireworks at Ajax supporters. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Which seems like that's a little bit much. How are they allowed to throw that stuff there? How do they get away with it?
Just gets in.
And then you watch it on thanks to the Sun on YouTube. If you look up the incidents, there was actually a legitimate patrol bomb explosion right next to the stands, which is extremely scary to think about. And that's not what sports is about, not by a long shot. Like, you can have like arguments, you can have like debates and all that stuff, and whatever. When you're putting people in legitimately mortal danger where people can legitimately die, then you're going too far.
Well,
because those patrol bombs are no joke.
And this is a conversation that is really prevalent right now because, as we'll talk about later in the show, we saw the final between Boca Juniors and River Plate in Argentina postponed the other day because fans actually threw flares and threw stones and other objects into the team charter bus, which postponed the game. That game is still in limbo. It may or may not be played.
Throw it in the bus?
Yeah, players were injured and had to go to the hospital. So this is just the latest in soccer violence. We see it all over the place. And you know what? Especially in these European Champions League games.
It's like a riot. It's the worst.
Well, especially in these European Champions League games, we're talking about a clash of cultures, not just clubs. I mean, you have teams that fans are coming in from a different country. You know, Athens has a lot of fervent supporters, just like Ajax does. You have the Dutch fans, you have the Greek fans in one place. A lot of these incidents stem for something bigger than just what's happening on the field. We see it. We see it with different cultures. We see it with racism and things like that when it comes to the international soccer, unfortunately. So it is sad to see, but unfortunately it's a part of the sport. And I don't know if it'll change because a lot of things have been done, but we still have incidents like this.
The photos are pretty gruesome to watch, so viewer discretion is advised if you're looking at this. But that should not take place in any stadium or any sporting event.
The one saving grace that I will say when it comes to this, obviously that other incident that we'll talk about later with fans and players is different, but in this case, a lot of times when there's a lot of fan violence, it's basically the hooligans from both fans. Like, not a lot of times are like innocent people getting caught in the mix. It's usually the support, like, what both groups of people are looking for.
But just with this Athens, when they were throwing into a huge group of people. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just like hooligans.
It's true. I mean, you don't have to be, a hooligan, quote unquote, to be involved in this, but a lot of times it is just between that. But
it's just awful is what it is. There's no excuse for it.
Yeah, exactly. There's 2 more games that went on yesterday. Let's talk about the Real Madrid game. Can you give me the score of that one?
Real Madrid game yesterday.
Yeah, they played
Roma. They won 2-0.
Yeah, Roma had a great first half. In fact, I don't know how they went into the break not winning the game. They had the bulk of the chances. Senzig under, he missed. He had one of the top 5 misses I've ever seen in my life. He missed a goal where the goalie was out of position. It was a great pass. He was inside of 4 yards, and he skies it over the net. And that was the end of the half. They had another flurry of chances in this game in the first half, but Real Madrid got lucky there.
His reaction also to missing that was priceless.
Mm-hmm. And Real Madrid got lucky there, but they were more clinical in the second half. Gareth Bale took advantage of a terrible back pass. Fell right to him, right to his chest. He turns, he scores. And then Vasquez seals the game in the 59th minute. Lucas Vasquez with the second goal for Real Madrid. They punched their ticket as well. Real Madrid cruises to 12 points. They should finish at top of the group unless something crazy happens in match day 6. But if results hold as they look right now, they will finish atop. They have clinched the next round at least. Roma has also clinched the next round at least. Roma looking to get
Fun fact about Real Madrid, they have reached the last 16 of the Champions League in all 16 seasons since it's been introduced.
Oh, the second round?
Yeah, have advanced.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, they reached the last 16, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and the next round will be the start of the last 16, round of 16, then quarters and semis, then final. And then there was another game that happened in that group that was pretty meaningless, but what was the score of that? Between Moscow and Plzen?
That Plaza won that one 2-1, which, like you said, there was no
Both
outcome.
teams are out. Yeah. So
It was a participation game. They got a participation trophy at the end of it.
So anyways, that'll wrap up.
Everybody wins.
That'll wrap up Champions League action from yesterday. When we return after the break, we'll talk about 2 crucial games happening today in Champions League. I think we need to discuss this because there are 2 games that can greatly affect the standings and which teams can advance and which teams will be left out of the tournament. And we'll do that when we return.
Are you looking to get your college football fix? Looking to get the latest news on your favorite school's team? The GSMC College Football Podcast is your ticket to all things college football. Join us as we talk college football from the national championship, the college rivalries, the bowl game, to the Heisman Trophy. To which conference is the best? We've got you covered for the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, the Pac-12, ACC, and everything in between. Download the GSMC College Football Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
And welcome back to the GSMC Soccer Podcast. We talked about the matches in Champions League yesterday. We have to look ahead at today's crucial matches. And this, my friend, this is a day of reckoning for a few teams. We got to talk about first and foremost, I believe, the match of the day, and that's Liverpool against Paris Saint-Germain. Yeah, so Group C, if you look at Group C right now, it's crazy. Napoli's got 6 points. Liverpool's got 6 points. PSG has 5 points. Red Star has 4 points. And Red Star, they're still in it. Like, you know, anything can happen.
I helped them by calling the upset in our podcast before their game against Liverpool.
You would never believe that they could advance out of this group, but they're making things interesting with that win against Liverpool. So, Liverpool PSG, that game will take place today.
Winner take all, basically.
It's obviously...
Well, I guess if it is a draw, that would leave a lot of... that would still go Liverpool's favor because they have 1 point extra, wouldn't it?
Yes. I mean, a draw would leave Liverpool ahead. Correct.
So PSG needs a win.
PSG... I would say a draw would be okay for PSG because they play Red Star for their last game, whereas Liverpool plays Napoli in their last game. So... even though PSG is in third right now, they're still looking at they should win
they
against
have
Red Star.
Star as their funnel game.
Exactly.
They have their work cut out for them.
However, if Red Star... if PSG loses today and Napoli beats Red Star, then PSG is out. So PSG needs to at least draw today. I think this is as big as a Matchday 5 game as I can remember, though, because the fact of the matter is that I think Napoli's going to go through. They play Red Star today. They play Red Star.
But Red Star has had an upset over Liverpool, so anything can happen.
Anything can happen, but I'm willing to bet that they do not upset Napoli today. But if Napoli gets a win, they're pretty much in. So, unless it's not technically yet, but it's a massive game today. Liverpool traveled to Paris, so they'll play in Paris. It would be crazy to think if PSG or Liverpool, if one of these teams would get knocked out. I couldn't really wrap my brain around it yet. But let's talk about the other big game of today, and that is Tottenham and Inter. Tottenham and Inter, as we look at it right now, another group, Group B, and we knew that Group B and Group C were going to be crazy. Well, Group B, not as crazy, but for Tottenham, they must win this game. If they don't win this game, I think it's all over for them. I really do. I don't see them drawing this game and being able to go through because they play Barcelona the next match.
Yeah, they have some bad luck in this group, being in the same group with Barcelona, because Barcelona is so far ahead with 10 points and they only have 4, but this is a must-win game for Tottenham over Inter. And Inter really just, all they need to do is draw this game and they clinch.
They wouldn't clinch.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm 100% because
they would have 8 points and then Tottenham will have 5 points, correct?
Yeah, so Tottenham could still overtake them, but it would be
okay.
But I mean, Inter would be in the driver's seat because they'd play PSV their next game. So I mean, it's not an absolute.
It would be almost a formality, though.
You could say that, but it also could be a case where Barcelona doesn't play their full team against Tottenham in their last game because they've already been so far ahead. Mm-hmm. So
because they're already in it.
Let's just be honest, though. If Tottenham ties this game, they're 90% out. If they win, they put themselves in a position to qualify, but still not officially in. They still probably would need to win.
Barcelona.
They probably would still need to beat Barcelona. Yes, so we're in must-win territory for Tottenham. We absolutely are. So, with that being said, the pressure is on. The pressure is on Tottenham, a club that hasn't found success in the Champions League. Last year, they really blew it when they were up against Juventus. They were up in that matchup, and they lost it in the second leg. And you gotta wonder. And as we look, as we transition from the Champions League and we go to the English Premier League right now, we had some games that happened last weekend, but Tottenham had an impressive win against Chelsea. So they are playing well right now. They beat Chelsea 3-0. They move into third place in the EPL. Man City and Liverpool are still 1-2 right now. Manchester United, though, with their draw this last week against Crystal Palace 0-0, raising more questions about Mourinho. Is he the right fit? Is he the right man for the job? Another boring, dull performance by Manchester United where you expect them to win these games. Moves them to 7th place. But when we look at the table overall, Huddersfield had a massive win over Wolves. And because they won, they actually jumped from last place to 15th. They moved out of the relegation zone with one win.
And it's because the bottom of the pit is so close that anything would have done it. A huge win. One win would put them over the top. And it shows because, you look at the bottom three, and they're just there's no. It feels like there's just kind of not very. There's not. I don't know how to say it without being insulting.
Well, you can say whatever you want to say.
There's a lot of garbage play by the three teams in the bottom.
There's a lot of goals being given up, that's for sure.
The goal differential for Fulham is almost not even funny. It's so sad. Minus 19 goal differential. And, I mean, Cardiff also has a minus 15, and Southampton also has a minus 14. But I think the thing we got to look at the most is how the goal differential between the first place Manchester City and the second place Liverpool, 35-21. That's just not fair.
Yeah, Man City, they
haven't lost.
They roll. I mean, And they score goals in bunches.
Yeah. When they put it on, they put it on big time.
I still am not sure. I'm not ready to say that they're better than Liverpool, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Man City just, in my opinion, they're more vulnerable. Yes, they score more, but Liverpool can be just as potent as Man City. But Liverpool, I think, has just a little bit tighter of a back line. Their defending just seems to be a little bit better on the counterattack when they're counterattacked. Where Manchester City, sometimes you see them kind of, they push up really high. They can be lulled a little bit. That's the way to beat Man City is on the counterattack. So I'm not ready to say it, but yes, Man City, I mean, what they're doing right now with a 35-goal differential is pretty good. That's only through 13 games. I mean, that almost comes out to winning every game by 3 goals.
You're basically up by 3 goals going into the game at the start, it feels like, for them.
Yeah, and they just have so many attacking players.
They're winning at the beginning, at the start of the pitch. They're winning.
Mm-hmm. And they score early a lot, too. It's like they're not getting into many games where they're having to, like, play 0-0 in the 80th
And the last
minute.
time they played Liverpool was October 7th, and they tied 0-0.
And Liverpool's had their number, too. Liverpool hasn't lost to Manchester City in a while. They usually do well. So it's a fun game. That game, though, was a kind of a dull matchup between those two. They were
eyeing each other. They were basically feeling each other out. Like, how is this going to go when we play?
It was a Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other. The two
yeah. I like that one.
That was basically what I got from that game.
I believe that's Mysterio, who is that villain. That's why it's so alike, because he can transform into Spider-Man. He can transform to anybody, but I think that's his power. I'm not as familiar with DC, Marvel Comics as I am with DC, but yeah.
But anyways, as we look at the EPL table, it's starting to shake out. Everton is in 6, Arsenal's in 5. Bournemouth and Watford are starting to slide a little bit closer to the mid-table like we expect. They both had really hot starts to the season. Wolves have been struggling. Even Leicester has been struggling a little bit. We're starting to see some separation here that I kind of feared that we would. The season started off really high with different teams getting in the mix, like Bournemouth, Watford, for example. Even Wolves had a really strong start. But now we're starting to see the top 6, maybe top 7 if Man United can turn it on.
Well, the thing is, when you're close to an end of a season, regardless of what sport, you really show who is the elite teams and who is kind of fluky.
And now we're about a third of the way in the English Premier League season, so we're starting to see. I just kind of hoped like we'd see maybe in the maybe 22, 23 games in before those teams kind of went ahead of everybody else. I mean, we are talking about a 38 game season here, so 13 out of 38. It's still relatively close, though. I mean, you can see a team
We still got a long way to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not even halfway.
No, not even close. And this weekend, Wolves and Cardiff will play each other. I think that's a massive game for Wolves, as they've dropped now, I think, 4 games without winning, maybe 5. They just lost to Huddersfield Town, which seemed like an easy victory, so that game against Cardiff is very important for them. Manchester United plays Southampton, and I think that it is a game that Mourinho needs to win. He's on his last legs, I feel, as manager of Manchester United. So,
do you think he'll point blames if they lose?
Oh, yeah. And that's just how he is. That's how he.
I want to see him do that crybaby tantrum on the sidelines as if they lose, like start smashing the ground.
Mm-hmm. And Manchester City plays AFC Bournemouth. That game, that could be a sneaky game because Bournemouth can score goals. I wonder if we're going to see 5, 6, 7 goals scored in this game because there's some speed on this field. Bournemouth, they have some talented players. Callum Wilson, Josh King, speed, goal scorers. Manchester City, I mean, we all know they have guys like Aguero, Sterling, Mahrez is even an option. Silva. I mean, this team is loaded. But I would say that this weekend, the match of the weekend, we have 2 derbies, actually. We have the North London derby, Arsenal-Tottenham, which is a massive game, big rivalry. But we also have the Liverpool derby between Liverpool and Everton. Do you know that these 2 clubs, Jeff, Liverpool and Everton, their stadiums are within like a half a mile of each other. They look at each
That's
other.
awkward.
The stadium, one's red, one's blue.
All right, we gotta travel. We gotta travel to Everton. All right, let's go. Everyone on the bus. We're there. Wait, what?
So the Merseyside derby is the Liverpool-Everton exchange, and the latest will be this weekend. I'm not sure which one is going to be more exciting. To
Talk
be honest
about
with
the
you.
Spider-Man meme. You're looking at, pointing at each other. That's basically what those two stadiums are.
Liverpool has a tough week this week. You know, they play PSG today, and then on Sunday morning, or Sunday evening, if you're in Liverpool, they play against their crosstown. I wouldn't even say crosstown because they're next to each other.
Cross
You can't
the
even call-
street rivals.
Yeah, you can't even say crosstown.
Cross the street. I think that's the perfect way of analogying that.
Everton's got a tough week, or Liverpool's got a tough week because Everton is a good team. They are now
Easy street.
Everton's in 6th place. Richarlison's looking good. He's scoring goals. It's going to be a big game, so not an easy week for them. But anyways, let's take a break. When we come back, we can talk a little MLS.
Major League Soccer.
We're getting down to the nitty-gritty in the MLS.
I feel like that's my job. I just say the full titles. I don't even say like NBA or NFL. I go National Football League or National Basketball Association. Major League Soccer coming right up when we return. Hang in tight.
We'll take a look at the other leagues as well.
Okay, cool. But mainly MLS because of the playoffs. Got it. All right. We'll see you then.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be, visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back to the GSMC Soccer Podcast. We just talked about the upcoming Champions League matches today and the English Premier League matches at the weekend with a current update of what the table looks like. So, now we'll take a look at some other leagues. We'll talk about MLS here in a second, and then after that, we got to talk about the Serie A. What's going on? Is Juventus rolling? Are they running away with this? Are they just cruising to a title, an 8th straight title, I should add? And what's going on in La Liga? We'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. But first, we got to talk about the MLS playoffs, Jeff. Give me the update as we are now in the second leg of the semifinals.
Well, we still have the Red Bulls and Atlanta United squaring off. Atlanta United just came off that 3-0 win the other day. And they basically are going to smooth sail into the finals. But again, they have to not give up 3 goals.
Yeah, you always like to go into a second leg with a 3-goal advantage. I'll say that. A massive, massive win at home in front of 70,000 in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That is just becoming a soccer fortress. I could not believe that. Yes, I know.
Can't believe they fit that. I can't believe that many people because you don't expect soccer in America to be as popular.
They put more fans in that stadium for soccer than they do for the Falcons games.
Wow, that's impressive.
And
one is
a huge party.
One is successful. The other one's not being very successful right now too. You got to put that in perspective.
Atlanta United, though, they are an easy team to like. They're an easy team to root for. They score a lot of goals. They play a very attacking game. They come at you. And, the fans love it. I mean, you watch these highlights, you watch these games. It's a party in Atlanta every day. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. When they first announced that Atlanta would be joining the MLS, I did not know if it was going to be successful. I was very skeptical that Atlanta would be a big soccer city in the United States.
Well, aren't you wrong, sir?
I am. I am wrong. We'll see if they can keep it up. I think they will be able to, though, because they have a nice collection of young players. Very exciting.
And on the other side of the spectrum, we got Sporting KC and the Portland Timbers.
Yeah, draw in the first game. Portland was at home at Providence Park, and they had the advantage. They had a lot of attempts, but they could not find the back of the net. So now Sporting Kansas City will get to go play at home with the 0-0. I would say advantage there, just because they held
at
court.
Home next.
Yeah, they held court. They went on the road. They got a draw. They come home. They know that if they win, they're in. So
I think either one's.
And also, if they go to a penalty shootout, they're at home. So that makes a difference too.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something?
It really is looking like it's Atlanta United's year, and I want to go back to them because they've had players, Joseph Martinez, Ezekiel Barco, and Miguel Almiron. These are three players that have been sought out by European clubs. We're talking about big clubs looking to buy MLS players at a premium price, which I don't think has ever been done before. I cannot remember a time where that happened, where these players were being poached from the MLS by notable clubs. Like, I'm not talking about some mid-level tier
young boys.
Teams. Yeah, exactly. I'm talking about, the Manchester Cities of the world are calling. And one player in particular, goalkeeper Zach Steffen, who right now is probably the second or third keeper on the U.S. national team. He's a young keeper with a lot of upside, a bright future ahead for him, as he's the current keeper of the Columbus Crew. Manchester City has come calling. He might be dealt in January during the transfer window that opens up in January. Would you be shocked if an American keeper was picked up by Manchester City?
Yeah, and especially Manchester City being one of the best teams in the world. That is incredibly shocking. And they already have a complete team.
Yeah.
So that's the most shocking thing. They are like, we could use him to make us better.
I'll be completely honest. He's not going to play. He's not going to start. And I would say that the most likely scenario for him is they buy him and then they loan him to a smaller club so he can play and get some playing time, because he's not playing. Ederson is their goalie, the Brazilian starter, who is the biggest goalkeeper signing in Manchester City club history, the biggest goalkeeper signing ever, actually, in terms of money, at least when he was signed. And he's been great. He hasn't been underperforming. This wouldn't be a move to replace him. It would be a move for the future, if that makes sense.
Yeah, which I don't think he would mind.
No. And I think a likely scenario is that if Zach Steffen gets bought by Manchester City, they'll turn around and they'll flip him to maybe a second division club in England where he would get a lot of playing time against a lot of good players and then maybe compete for a starting spot in a year or two, but definitely not now. I would even be shocked if he competes ever for a starting spot at Manchester City, because Ederson is still very young. We're talking about a keeper that is not even entering his prime yet. To be replaced now would be shocking. But it is cool. It is nice to see a big club that's interested in a player across the pond, So
yeah, it's a very large pond, but a pond nonetheless.
It always cracks me up that they call the Atlantic Ocean the pond.
Even though it's the second largest body of water in the world.
Yeah, exactly. So
Pacific's the first, right?
Yes, it is. 100%. So, do you know what's going on in the Italian league right now, Jeff? The Serie A?
The Italian, I'm craving. I was actually craving Italian food the other day. I know that's completely off topic, but I thought that would be nice to share with you.
Well, thank you for letting me know that. I appreciate it. You have any other thoughts?
No. Why don't you enlighten me?
Okay. Juventus. They've won 7 in a row. They've won the league. Let me say it again. They've won the league 7 times in a row. 7.
7.
They're going for their 8th title. This time they have a guy named Ronaldo on their team where they didn't have him in the previous 7.
So it's almost unfair now.
They have 37 points in 13 games. They have won every single game except for one, which was a draw. They have not lost. We're approaching halfway through the season, and they have not lost a single game. They have an 8-point lead on second place, Napoli. We see Inter right behind Napoli. But isn't it crazy? They already have a 3-game advantage over the second place team.
Yeah, that seems almost unfair.
Do you know that Juventus has played 18 competitive matches this year, and they've lost once? And that was against Manchester United in that random giving up a goal lead and giving up 2 in the last 5 minutes of the game.
Last 5 minutes, yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, so Juventus is just cruising in Serie A. I don't expect it to stop anytime soon. They're cruising in the Champions League. I think it's safe to say that the first half of the season's gone pretty well for Juventus and their newest addition, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Well, like I've said this once, I'll say it a million more times. Getting Ronaldo, arguably the best scorer and best player in the world, can only do good things. Can only make you. He's like the LeBron James of soccer. How I mean that is, whatever team he goes to, they're going to be instantly better, regardless of who they are.
Yeah, I agree. And he's been making an impact, especially as of late. And we look at the Spanish league, in particular Real Madrid, Ronaldo's team, old team, and they are struggling right now. They're in 6th place. They have 20 points. But would you guess... In fact, I'll let you guess. Do you know who's ahead of the Spanish league right now?
It's not Barcelona.
It's not.
It's
Sevilla.
Sevilla, yeah.
That
26 points. I know they're only up by 1 point, but that's impressive.
Anytime you see the league and Atletico, Real Madrid, and Barcelona are not atop the league, it is very, very eye-opening. It's almost shocking. Even 13 games is a considerable amount of time. We've seen Barcelona and Real Madrid struggle this year. We've seen more competition in La Liga. La Liga is turning out to be a more balanced league than it has been in the last decade or so. I think it was very top-heavy for a while. 3, 4, 5 teams maybe were good. But now we're seeing some resistance. Speaking of which, Real Madrid got crushed in their last league match. 3-0 by Eibar of all teams. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I can't. Would that worry you if you're a fan of the team, of the club?
I mean, Real Madrid's been struggling. They changed their coach not too long ago. They brought in Solari to replace Lopetegui. So, they've been playing better, but I was surprised. I was very surprised to see them lose 3-0. I mean, maybe they lose by a goal, 2 at the most, but 3-0. Real Madrid's not usually on the bad end of a 3-0. Let's put it that way. They're usually the team that's winning 3-0.
Yeah, when you're usually the team that wins 3-0 and you're getting blown out 3-0, that puts a big question mark on your club. Like, of what's going on. What's the problem?
As for Barcelona, midfielder Rafinha, he has torn his ACL, and it sounds like Barcelona will look to replace him in the January transfer window. I'm not sure who their targets are as of yet, but he is a decent player. He's a depth player. He's a spot starter for them. He provides definitely a good option, and he will be missed. He will be missed by the team. They'll have to replace him for sure. Anyways, how about we take a quick break, Jeff? We come back. Some news regarding the USL. That's the other league in the United States. And I want to follow up on that Boca Juniors River Plate conversation because that is a big story in international soccer right now. We'll do that when we return.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
And welcome back to the GSMC Soccer Podcast.
Woo!
Last segment of the day. We got to get going here pretty soon.
Woo!
Ric Flair, man, come on.
Woo! What's wrong with Ric Flair? Yeah, don't hate on Ric Flair.
How many people listen to this podcast know Ric Flair?
Everyone. Are you kidding me? Everyone knows who Ric Flair is.
Some people.
You're joking, right?
I mean, I know who he is.
Dude, he's like when people get pumped during games, they hear the woo.
Speaking of
woo!
Ric Flair, some flares were actually strapped to a child in South America.
Clever girl.
So yeah, on a more serious note, though, we had an incident that happened in the Copa Libertadores final. It's a two-leg final, I should say. And it just so happens that the Argentina's biggest clubs, the two biggest rivals, Boca Juniors and River Plate, met in the final. Pretty crazy, as we're talking about the biggest rivalry in Argentina has now spread into the final of South America. The first game was very good. Boca Juniors hosted that game. It was a 2-2 draw, a lot of action. As you can imagine, a lot of intensity. But on the way to play the second leg, a problem happened.
Bad things happened.
Yes, the team bus was attacked. Boca Juniors team bus, I should explain, it was attacked by River Plate fans. Players were injured in this, as fans threw all kinds of things.
A lot of
projectiles,
a lot of metal
fireworks.
things. There was a broken glass all over the show video to the bus afterwards, and a lot of broken glass. And that glass is not easy to break.
Now, Boca Juniors did not go along with the game, as some of their players had to go to the hospital. The game was postponed, and they're now deciding what to do with the second leg of the tournament. Now, it has been postponed. It looks like it will be played December 8th or 9th. It will not be held in Argentina. That's what the result was by the South American Soccer Federation. They have decided that this game will not be played in Argentina. They can't risk it. They can't risk.
Well, they were
people
thinking
getting
about forfeiting the game and giving it to the
Correct.
team that got injured.
Boca Juniors is asking for River Plate to be eliminated from the tournament, to have to forfeit the final.
Didn't they do the same thing to River Plate a couple of years ago?
This has happened before.
Yes.
And Boca Juniors was in trouble last time. So they're asking for the same in response. They're asking for River Plate to be eliminated from the tournament, to have to forfeit the final and be the champions. Now, as it stands currently, this final will take place in December 8th or 9th. There has been talk that Miami will be used, although a lot of people are upset about that being a South American final, having it in North America. They've even talked about going into Europe. Italian club Genoa, they've offered to host. We've heard United Arab Emirates might host this game. I don't know. It's kind of crazy right now. We really don't know what's going to happen. But as it stands right now, Boca Juniors, they're asking that River Plate be disqualified from the competition altogether and that they be handed the title. What is your thoughts about this?
I understand what they're coming from. Yeah, they crossed a line, and obviously if you watch the videos, it's pretty intense, to say the least. And I think one of the main things is they've done the same thing before, though. That's where I feel like they should still play the game. Mm-hmm. And
should that be considered, though? I mean,
forfeiting?
Like an eye for an eye, right?
Yes, absolutely. But I have to say, the fact of the matter is, I like
this rivalry is intense.
I like the neutral location, but those fans are just going to go to that neutral location.
I don't know. Not very many, I don't think.
If it's far away enough. It's got. I don't think it can be in South America. I really don't.
I mean, fans will travel, don't get me wrong, but
I think it has to be in a place where they, no way they'll pay to go there, That's why I'm thinking maybe we got to put it in a place where it's far.
The problem is that this is a South American tournament final, so people who are wanting to attend, it's not just the fans. Yes, they're a big portion of it, but we have to remember it's not just Boca and River Plate fans. it's fans of Brazilian clubs, it's fans of other clubs. You know,
True.
like it'd be like going to the Super Bowl, right? And they decide that the Super Bowl is actually going to take place in Rio de Janeiro instead of an American location. Like that would upset a lot of American football fans, right? So
True. But I don't know. This seems like
this is a safety issue, though, right?
This is
different.
absolutely
This
a
is
safety
different.
issue. This is completely different. This is more the lines of you got to think of the safety of the players, let alone the fan base.
Can you believe there is a video out there? There's a video. You probably saw the image, but there's a video of a mother strapping flares to a child, to like a 4-year-old.
That is the most absurd thing I've ever heard.
She was arrested.
Good. I don't think she deserves to have a child.
But there's a video of her actually doing it. Like there's a video of her actually strapping it to her.
Like
to
what?
The kid.
How do you think this is a good idea? I'm sorry. What?
It's pretty pathetic, right?
It's more than pathetic. It's the worst thing you can ever do.
The worst of the worst.
Like that. Like putting your child in danger that is totally crossing a line.
Absolutely. It's
disgusting.
It's absolutely disgusting. I think you said it right. It's disgusting is the right word because it's inhumane. It's what are we doing here? We love our teams.
Game.
We have passion, but like, what are you doing? You're strapping on explosives to a child. I mean, I get it. They're not bombs, but they're still flares. They can injure a kid. Like
burn the kid. Give him 3rd-degree burns. It's a flare. It's a
and
very
it was multiple.
intense flame.
It was multiple. So like, if one catches on fire, then they all do.
And who knows where he's going to run to? It could run to somebody that's explosive because there's other things being thrown.
I think the plot has been lost by some people in this world. What
Absolutely. That is too much. I can't for the good sake say one good thing or one thing. Oh, in her defense, there's no defense for that.
And you know what's crazy is that just because she was caught doesn't mean she's the only one, right? Like I guarantee you, there's other fans that have done crazy things.
Isn't that disturbing?
It actually is.
It's sickening. It's honestly like they should not even play this game. That's what I feel like. Like that's how disturbing that is. Just that one thing. I feel like this is a game. It's literally a game, and you're putting your child at risk of serious damage.
Well, please join us next week as we will follow up on this story. We'll talk about what's going on.
Please don't strap flares to your child. That's all we have to say about this. Please don't do it.
We'll see what the court rules on this. We'll see what the Federation, the CONMEBOL in South America decides to do. If this game will go on, if Boca Juniors will be handed the trophy, we'll follow up on this. But thank you for joining us. Please check out the GSMC Podcast Network for other shows. We do a sports show, football, soccer, of course.
Once again,
baseball.
do not strap flares to children.
No flares on children,
please.
Maybe there should be a sign outside the stadium that has a picture of a child with a flare and have the note.
Why? I can't believe we have to have that actually be considered, because I'm actually thinking maybe it's a good idea. Maybe they'll stop.
Well,
them.
you know how it is. They got to put signs on everything like choking hazards and like of course
choking
like
hazards is one thing,
but like common sense type stuff. Like don't jump in the river full of alligators type thing.
But
like,
this seems like no one should ever have thought about it, let alone done it.
Yeah, exactly.
What type of mother are you? Seriously.
Well,
where's the dad? You know what? Not getting into this.
Yeah. Anyways, let's just end this here. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Yes. Bye, everybody. Make sure you don't put flares on children.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.